Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Living for a Living with Joey Bradley. Got a bonus episode for y'all this week that came up pretty impromptu, as you'll hear as we start talking. Before I introduce my guy, I got to do the little website plug. Appreciate everybody who's made a purchase so far online. If you want to go check it out, livingforaliving.live. Check out the store, a little bit extra about the story, how I've come to be in this wild world we're living in. But nah, man, this guest this week, this first dude I've made friends with through the power of podcasting. And I'm always super grateful to connect with him because for whatever reason, brings my most authentic self out and is super easy to talk to and fun to relate with. His curiosity and desire to self-assess and self-improve in addition to helping other people is really inspiring to me and always kind of motivates me as our conversation ends. He's the first person to make a second appearance on my podcast, and that is none other than my boy, Will Ferris.
Living for a living, baby. How you doing?
When we were talking about it earlier, I was like, wait, is this going to be a podcast for me or is this a podcast for him? Am I on his podcast? And then I was telling my girl, I was like, I don't even know if it's a podcast. We might just be like talking, like I don't know what it is.
Dude, I woke up, I was like, man, I thought the same thing. I was like, I know we've been talking about getting together. Honestly, we'll see. We'll see who uses what. Like, we'll see if it even turns out into something. But I've been a fan of like watching you create what you've been creating, man. And it's always great to connect with you, man. I was telling some people about you last night. I was like, dude, this guy, he just has a true human spirit, like he really just wants to like live life. And I was like, that's somebody who I need to talk to again. So let's get it going.
Yeah, bro. No, I mean, that's what, as I was telling you in the message, was like, we like running through our catalog of conversations is essentially what it is now, first in Renton at the Flow Station headquarters, which like, we talked like 3 messages before that.
Yep.
And then just fucking hit it off. Then you come to my crib. We go for like fucking 3 hours almost. And then just here and there, bits and pieces. I've been following you. You've been following me. And it's just no, it's for sure. I'm glad we happened, whether a lot or nothing comes out of it. I'm stoked on it, bro. It's just good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. So where are you at right now?
I've been in Finland now for a while. I'm in Finland last like 8 or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Northeast, about 5 hours north of Helsinki,
Mm-hmm.
in a city called Kuopio. And man, I'm starting to enjoy it out here. The winter, I got here in the winter and shit was long and cold and dark. And the summers have been like the exact opposite. But you can feel now weather's starting to get a little colder. It's actually dark at night here now because for a while it was just like daylight always. And you can feel winter is coming.
Yeah, because it's late right now for you, right?
Yeah, it's 9:15 p.m. But you can like see the reflection.
Looks like sunrise.
Yeah, you can see the reflection. I mean, it's super cloudy today, but the sun would normally still be up for another, I don't know, 2 hours or so. But the fact that it's dark at midnight now, that's new. For all of like June, it was just like, it didn't matter when you left the bar, when you left anywhere, it felt like daylight.
So is that messing up your sleep a little bit, or?
I mean, I got the blackout curtains, so, but at the same time, yeah, my sleep schedule here, also because I don't have anything I have to wake up for. I've been pretty consistently like a 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. sleeper right now.
4 a.m.
like real consistent actually. And then for the last month or two here, the bars and clubs and shit have been open till 5, and so you end up some nights not getting home till like 5 or 6. And I've been enjoying myself this summer, no doubt about that. I've been enjoying it. And so, dude, there was a while where like, yeah, if you went out a couple nights in a week, getting home at 6, sleep until 1, but like I said, I don't have shit to get up for, so it works out. I feel bad for people who do it and then have to like go to work at 10 in the morning.
Oh God. So you're basically right now you're just doing football in the pod?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, dude, well, you've seen it on like TikTok over here is just blowing up for me.
Mm,
Like crazy blowing up. And it's slowly but surely getting some actual people to just watch the podcast itself.
nice.
But dude, like it's honestly crazy, bro. When I go out now, at least like 3 times a night, someone's like, "Oh, you're the guy from TikTok. I love your stuff, man." Like, I swear to like, I'm taking selfies with people. Like, bro, it's fucking trippy. Like,
That's
wild,
awesome.
but it's super cool.
So I've been curious watching you, like most episodes. I think it's easier to listen to them for me just because I'm always out and about and doing shit. But sometimes I'll watch the YouTube version and it's like, um, obviously you're posting a lot of those clips to TikTok and whatnot. I've just been curious, like the balance of like you sharing your life and like your journey and your thought process. Sometimes you'll tap into philosophy a little bit. Like, um, for me, especially, I'm like trying to figure out how I want to bring back the pod. Excuse me, to bring back the pod and like utilize those platforms, but in a way that's like, some of these are sacred. Like
Yeah,
some of the things that
yeah.
I'm writing down, or like it's kind of like maybe this is just for me. So I think it's just my kind of struggle is like, oh, what do I put out there, and then what becomes too much like externalized? Like, do you how have you kind of like mentally figured out that balance for yourself?
Well, the toughest part I would say now is like kind of in terms of dating, because I've gotten some
Mm,
success with like talking about and I don't ever want, as I mentioned to you in that text message, I said my girl, and that's almost like weird for me to say here, but like that's more or less, we haven't, see, it's even kind of weird saying this right now,
yeah.
like because I don't like putting that kind of information out into the world too much. But then I also like some content I know of talking about dating and talking about shit I see on Tinder, and like those kind of stories do really well. And so
Mm,
that's probably been the place that I've had the toughest part of like balancing and figuring out, okay, what do I share, what don't I share? I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I don't want to,
mm-hmm.
affect something that is meaningful at the same time. But in terms of the philosophy or, life thoughts or whatever it may be, I'd say I'm pretty open about it.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I can't fully get into. Um, like I've been wanting to talk more and more like on my pod about like LSD and psychedelics and stuff, but there was kind of like a little hang up with the league here before the season started, where they saw a video from hella long ago about me talking about that. And so I've been pretty reserved in terms of talking about that kind of stuff and some of my thoughts regarding that. I'll still share a story here or two, here or there. But other than that, man, I just try and let it flow and not
Yeah.
give,
You do.
not give too much. Yeah, try not to give too much of a fuck, because then it's, dude, now it's been fun. I'm sure you think about this the same as like watching pods from a year ago. and like even the one I don't watch too many of my own, but I've watched ours like multiple times, bro.
Me
Like straight
too.
up, like that's like a really good one that in both of them, where was I forget. Oh yeah, I was like in both of those, like I was in a pretty good spot, but then also like definitely had some internal conflicts going on
Hmm.
that, looking back and seeing like, oh, yeah, I was like better in that Madden category, but I'm like a little bit worse in that, like being able to like see where I've been going, you kind of, dude,
Yeah,
I've been viewing life shit as a video game more and more. Like,
that's
okay, you go
awesome.
to the gym, you go to the gym, you do this, like you boost your strength rating like 1 point, like
I like that.
it's like a weird little thing. And but no, it's fun now to look back on like a year ago. And so
Hmm.
I just try and let shit flow so that way I can be completely honest with myself. So in a year from now, when I'm watching this one
Mm,
again, I'm like, oh, I didn't hold, like, I really got to see me in that moment because I'm not going to be able to remember myself in this moment
yeah.
a year from now. Like I really won't. This is a true, like, bro, what we're doing is fucking crazy right now. I mean, you're in Bellevue right now?
No, I'm in San Diego, California.
Oh, you're in San Diego? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, we got even more to talk. I don't even know where you are right now, but San Diego, we're like 5,000 miles apart,
I know.
crystal
I
clear,
know.
perfect conversation. And then we get to timestamp this thing like in this this portion of reality is now like forever. And so it's like, what we're doing
So
is
wild.
fucking wild, so being able to mm, I mean, bro, I can barely remember what I was thinking yesterday sometimes.
Hmm.
So to be able to remember what I was thinking a year ago when we were talking, I just got to let it slide. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know if and the other thing on that is like with the TikTok stuff and clips there. Like I've figured out what works there for the algorithm of where I am geographically. And it's like, talking about Finland and as a foreigner and yada, yada, yada. And so like, that's getting to the weird part with now having success there is sometimes I'm thinking, is this what I actually want to talk about? Or
Mm,
is this something that I'm going to talk about because I know I can make a clip from it because it's what someone else wants me to kind of talk about?
yeah.
So
It's tough.
that's maybe my other battle more so is in terms of like just like what I'm gonna put out and what I'm not is I
Hmm.
probably battle the most with like the like dating kind of scene, dating realm, and then this idea of is this what I want to do or what? But bro, I mean, you I've been stoked with the way you've been putting the new pod back into play. I don't know what to call it, the season 2, the renaissance, you know.
Yeah.
I've been liking what you've been doing cuz it feels like you're testing new waters.
That's really what it is, man. I mean, like you said, looking back on our first pod, like I've watched that probably 3, 4 times because there's certain questions in there that you actually, I was trying to find it this last week. And there were certain questions that you would ask me that I'm like, fuck, I remember when you asked me it, I was like, I don't know if it was like I was capable of answering it in an authentic way that
Mm,
now with perspective, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I can kind of see that. But if you hadn't asked me that question, there wouldn't been this like inquiry for myself. And that's like kind of been my journey back with the pod. I'm like, I struggle like putting stuff out there because I'm like, I don't want to prove anything to anyone. I want to be as
yeah.
authentic as I can. But there's also that balance of like, if I'm going to be as authentic as I can, then it's like I'm going to have to share some of the things that are like more sacred, right? So there's like this constant balance, but I realize if I want people to watch that I really resonate with, then I got to be as authentic as I can. I got to speak my mind of things that, because I think when you talk about things that are vulnerable, it allows people to be more authentic. They're like, oh, okay. Oh, like he's going through XYZ. Oh, okay. So am I. Okay. Now I can be more myself around this guy versus I got to be this image. Right. So with
Totally.
my pod, like I write, like since I've taken that like hiatus, like I've been writing every day, like working on
Okay.
my writing skills. I don't know, it could be like a poem, like a flow, whatever. It's rhyming, but it's longer. So I was like, man, this is something that is way more my truth than me just kind of riffing on something. So I was like, okay, let me do something that's a little bit more of like scripted while also having the flow be like me just like riffing on the mic, be an explanation of how I got to that, and like
Mm,
giving a backstory, and then just like, a lot of it's like deep awareness, like deep inquiry of myself and like learning myself. And so that's why I go back to our pod, because I think I remember you were like, it was something about on the mindfulness journey that I had this like idea in my mind that it wasn't that I wanted to prove something, but I wanted to like experience something and like hold it or protect it. And I think
right.
you asked me, you're like, what are you trying to prove? Or you said something around those realms. And I still need to find it because the way you asked it was like so money. But I was like, huh, that's interesting, because I think a lot of accepting myself for what I'm feeling and who I am was in conflict with this like idealistic mindfulness that I've expressed to you. And I think the pod at the flow station, which was like, I took it as basketball. I took it as like, okay, if I just practice enough, like I'm going to get to this level of consciousness that I'm going to be able to accept. But that's not life. That's like, it's really tough, because then you're trying to protect the high, whatever you're feeling, like the calmness or the peace, and you're really rejecting the low. And so for me, that was like a deep question that like, I never forgot it. I never like, I was like, okay, yeah, that's something I really am probably not ready to deal with or understand. But now it's like I've been through, like to give you a little backstory, I've been in this master's program, and it's
Okay.
all on health and human performance coaching. So we're learning these powerful questions. We're learning how to talk with clients so that they're empowered. Like I think I have it behind me. My goal with like when I'm talking to somebody is not to like give them a bunch of answers, but it's to give them inquiry and questions that they can like then tap into their own resourcefulness. Like, oh,
Totally.
okay, what do I need? Like what works for me? And that empowers them. So those are the questions I've been asking myself. Those are the questions that like when I look at the pod in general, or just the podcast format, I think it allows for that. It allows for, if you're listening to an interviewer and you ask a great question and you ask it to yourself, like now it's like a huge ripple effect, So I don't even know where that's coming from, but I guess that's just a riff right there, just going at
Yeah.
kind of what
No,
I've been
but
up to. But
dude, I've um like it's a totally different format, at least the couple. I mean, what, you have four out, three or four
I think I put
that have
like,
been
I think I've done probably three or four
three. Okay, three.
of the
Yeah.
new season.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if I've listened to the third, to be honest, but the first two I listened, like I got the notification and it was like on, and just that like difference in um you you'll interrupt the conversation to then give
Hmm.
some thoughts on like, it's like third person thoughts on
Yeah.
the conversation that you are a first person in. And
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
it's like
deep way.
seconds, but it's fucking dope. It's like it's in one way, the like first time it came on, I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, let the conversation, I'm into it. And then I started listening to it. I was like, oh, like he's now reflecting on the reflection, basically,
Mm-hmm.
like in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was then I kind of almost started like looking forward to the interruptions. But at first, bro, I was like, what the fuck? You know, like, but
This
I mean,
guy.
just yeah, I was like,
This
dude,
guy
what?
just,
Like, let's whoever, either you're in the middle of saying something or the guest was in the middle. I was like, no, like keep it rocking. But then now I'm like, okay, when's the interruption coming? I know there's
yeah.
going to be a secondary thought, but I just think like the uh creativity or I haven't I haven't seen anybody else do anything like that. You know, I'm not listening to a million different podcasts, and main ones
Right.
I am are like either guys just talking to them like comedians or, you know, guest ones, but nobody that thought has never even entered my mind. And so then you even just like made me think, oh, like I could do something like, you know, some version of that. And so I just like, I think that was super dope, bro. So I mean, just the other thing with this shit is that I'm trying to get over is knowing like these are like the beginning steps, and not even saying like podcasting is going to be the final steps or, you know, the pinnacle, you know, wherever we
Mhm.
get to some peak. But I just have a feeling that these are the stepping stones of it, that you got to do them, you know,
Mm.
like it's just, it's a point of, and whether it be podcasting or just writing on your own, you know, whatever the medium is, you gotta fucking do it in order to get to that pinnacle. Like you get, you know, it's what
Right.
the cliche quote of like one step at a time to get to the, yeah, I don't even, I'm not good with that, but like, so I just think I've been putting way less judgment on myself of
Mm.
like, you know, I was for a while, I got to like episode 50 and I was like, oh, I'm only at, you know, I only get 30 views on Spotify, or, you know, I only get this many things on YouTube, or, you know, and then comparing and looking at somebody else's 50th, you know, whatever. And now I just got to 80. And now so I can feel in my head like 100's coming soon. And it's like,
Mhm.
fuck. And if I don't have like this exterior metric to live up
Mhm.
to by 100, then it's not worth it, or, you know, or it's not whatever. And I'm like, no, it's like, maybe, yeah, maybe I suck at podcasting, but it could go to something else later on down the road,
Mhm.
but I just got to fucking do it.
Yeah, that's deep, bro. And you've gotten so much better, right? Like, I mean, the first pods when you're working with somebody else, you're kind of like you're part of it, but it's like most of the weight's on the guest, you know. But when you're
Totally.
riffing by yourself, like you're like you're putting it out there, man, and it's dope. Something I was thinking about that too is like it's incredible how consistent you've been, because like for me, I think there's always a balance too of like, okay, consistency, putting it out there, and then like having this like almost like fine wine uh drop, like these artists who drop an album every 2 years, right? Like
Right.
people are waiting for that versus like consistency. I think there's such a balance of both. I think I respect both. I'm trying to figure out what's most resonates to me, you know, which is I think there is a, I mean, like you said, the views and shit, all the externals is all bullshit anyways. If you connect to it and you're connecting to the guests and you're learning, like that's more than you could get anything monetarily. And I think you know that better than most people from what the awareness that you've brought to me and like living for a living, just the brand itself, you know. And I think that's what's going to pay dividends in the end. So I think that's what I'm really not seeking for, but I'm waiting to feel it in my gut, not like a head thing, like, oh, I need to start posting a podcast. It's more of like, oh yeah, this feels like deeply connected to what I should, not should, but I could be doing, and it's fun and I enjoy it. But I totally hear you on the like, gotta just fucking do it. At the end of the day, if it's cost your mind multiple times, fucking do it, right? Like it's never going to
Dude.
be perfect timing. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of balancing that is has been an interesting journey in itself, man.
No, and I mean, like, there's no right way, you know. So it's like whether, I mean, you're still, I think the cool thing with probably what you're learning and stuff with this class and everything is, I mean, just being able to, you know, what they said, the best way to learn something is to teach it yourself. And it's like, even if you could just then, I don't, you know, I'm just spitballing shit here, is like, I think you could really do solo ones, you know, and I think you would fucking really like it too. And even, you know, and maybe, you know, you need more, I think maybe you need a little bit more uh of like a direction to follow than sometimes of what I'll do. But like if you started it with whatever you had learned in your thing in
Mm.
the class, and just like, then who knows what comes off of that. You know, I don't know. I just, that shit would be interesting to me because it's interesting to hear you talk about that kind of stuff. But how long you been in San Diego now?
Since January. So
Okay.
I moved here after the farm season. So I was, working on the farm in
Yeah.
Sammamish Valley, and that ended. Me and my pops were like, "Ah, I think it's time to part our separate ways." And I was like, okay. In November I visited San Diego to see my buddies, and they're like, dude, why don't you just stay with us? And I was like, I guess there's no reason not to, right? And then the 3-on-3 practices have been here, the basketball stuff, and then my program is actually in San Diego. And
Okay.
so there's a lot of links here, and just through that I've just kind of had to take a lot of like courageous steps, man, because there's been, I mean, this, like, out of college there's been no plan for me. There's been like
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, start a podcast. What are you doing for work? What are you doing for work? I'm doing a podcast. And so now I'm like kind of in this unknown, but I've become I think it's helped my temperament as a human, like how to kind of live a little bit more loose and less rigid. And it's brought some really cool things. So like now pretty much my full-time job is the coaching business. Like I've started
Yeah.
my own thing. I've have clients now, and it's kind of growing organically. And that's why I think bringing the podcast back and bringing the social media stuff back to some degree that resonates to me, will bring the clients that I want to work with. It brings
True.
like the people that you can work with the most, because if they resonate with your message, they want to work with you more than just like trying to force a match. So yeah, I've been here since January, enjoying it. We found a cool little house, and it's just obviously different, man. Just a different adventure for sure.
When is the program? It's program, or like what, when is that finished?
Yeah, so the first 4 classes are the health coaching, and then
Okay.
the whole program will probably take 2 years. It's a master's program in health
Okay.
and human performance. So
What
um,
school are you at then?
it's at Pacific College of Health and Science. It's more of like
Okay.
it started off originally as like an acupuncturist massage school, and then they
Okay.
started adding this program, which has been dope, man. So like I got lobbed into a group of people. Most of them have 20 plus years of experience treating or working with clients, and I'm just like, yo, what's up, how we doing? They're like, who's this guy?
Just the young guy
The
that,
young buck. But they're just like, they've taken me in and helping me out so much. Like I'll talk to three of them, outside of class, at least a couple hours a week. They're just helping me figure out what I need to do and who I am. So it's been like the greatest investment ever, because it's just the people, right? And I'm just learning a lot. So it's been dope, man. It's been dope.
that's super cool, man. I gotta say, your desire and um like attitude towards like learning more about yourself and just the world is motivating or inspiring or something, bro. Like with that, like just to hear you said, like, you know, still learning about myself, and it's like, dude, that just is such a like breath of fresh air to hear. sometimes. So I gotta compliment you for that, dude, because
I appreciate it, bro.
that's super cool. No, it's damn. I mean, do you feel then a little bit like in terms of being reserved about not knowing how much you want to share and stuff like that because of the coaching factor that's
Mm,
tying to it? Like, there's like a weird part of it kind of that if you're then coaching out of it or with it or through it or, whatever the word is, like you don't want to, I think human nature says like you don't want to come off too vulnerable
mm-hmm.
because then it's like there's the like weird interior thing of like, well then who am I to coach? Like it becomes like this weird like structure battle almost, even
Yeah,
if it's just interior. So do you feel like that could be something that's holding you back at all, or?
that's a deep question, man, because I think that's also goes to like accepting myself. And I think the reason why I enjoy doing the coaching for people, but getting coached, and like it's far different from therapy. It's more of like, all right, this is where you're at, where are we going, versus like let's
Mhm.
keep diving back in the past. So I
Right.
think what it does for me is it gives me a perspective from other people's eyes. Like when you say that stuff to me, I'm trying to like learn to, okay, just receive that. You don't have to like fight what he said. If that's his perception of you, like you can accept it and like allow it to build you up, you know? I think because of the mind and how judgmental we can get of ourselves and how much we can beat ourselves down, it becomes a lot easier to, I think that's just shame, right? Like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not perfect, so I can't fix or help anyone else. I mean, not fix, but I can't
Yeah.
assist someone else if I'm feeling this way. For me, it that totally shifted in my mind, not only through this class, but I've had like 10 different experiences with 10 different people recently, like in the last month and a half, where they'll say things about me and I'll be like the nicest compliments ever.
Mm.
And I'll be like, I was like pretty anxious and pretty ungrounded when I was with you. But what they sensed was completely different from my perspective. And so it was kind of just like a reassurance, like, okay, even if you wake up and you're tired and you're supposed to show up present with this person, you showing up is enough. And like you just being there, you can still assist. And so I think it's always going to be a constant battle, man, because I think as as you probably know with athletics too, you want to show up your best. You don't want to like show up and
Yeah.
feel like, oh, I'm tired and da da da, but you still got to show up and you can still perform at a high level. And so I think that is a balance. If that answers your question, of I don't think I'm afraid to be vulnerable. I don't think I'm afraid to share, but I think it also is a balance of knowing, you know, does somebody really need this? Like, am I just like riffing about something that's more of just like a personal thing that, it's more of like me tapping into myself? Or is it offering a tool as well? Like, is it offering something that if someone resonates to this, can they take it and be not just aware of it, but they can do something with it?
Mm.
That's really been when I step back, I'm like, 25 episodes of the Flow Station, I get little tools from everybody that I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, what works for me? What taps me in? But because of our inability to empower ourselves, especially myself, like I think that would cause too much overwhelm for me. Like, okay, I could do this, versus like slowing down, asking myself, okay, what do I need? What fits here? What tool fits here? And so that's kind of been more of the reflection than anything else, because
Okay.
I think it's easy to, speak and talk about a lot of these things. But for me, it's like, I think right now maybe is the season for me to kind of embody it and
Mm.
accept it more for myself, So yeah, there's those like hierarchy and there's those like battles in my mind that I go through for sure every day, but I think we all do. And it's really just like when it hits my gut, I think I'll know like, all right, you can go through the highs and lows of this and it'll still feel good, versus trying to force something out,
For
which,
sure.
you know, I'm sure you've known because you've done so many podcasts now that you know better than me.
No, dude. I mean, I think the the thing. I mean, if your battle, bro, is wondering whether someone's gonna get something from it or not, whether it's just this personal thing, I would say put out whatever. Don't let that one be the if that's the true
Mm.
inhibitor at times. I would say don't let that, because I've realized through this now, and the point I'm going to make is something you've said, is like sometimes it's shit that I don't even think is a big deal, or
Mm.
are like lesser thoughts, like in my hierarchy of like how I've kind of scripted or, thought about the podcast in itself, that end up being the ones that people fuck with the most. And like
Mm.
the one that sticks out to me is, like, I was joking in the beginning of one of my pods and I was like, what are we doing? Like, none of this none of this matters, what am I doing this for? Because I literally, before I started, I was like, why am I talking to this fucking like really existential, like what are we doing here? Why am I doing this? And your comment, like the first comment's like, what are we doing here? Like laugh, and like, that shit then I was like, oh damn, that really resonated with somebody. I thought that was just like a stupid joke to myself, and then to know like someone else really vibed with it, I was like, oh. And then like now with the bro, it's crazy now with the TikTok stuff and putting out all kinds of clips of, they all tend to do with Finnish culture or Finnish people or something or other. But then when people will come up to me and say something, and it's like almost every person has like a different clip that like has
Mm.
gotten them to come up and talk to me, and
Interesting.
some of them are stupid, some of them are like obvious, or some, like I talked about, there's like this Finnish, I don't know what to call it, like a cuisine. It's like basically a rice cake kind of thing, like this you rice pastry, you cook it, and Finnish people don't use any seasoning or salt. Like everything's as bland as can be. And so this thing itself is fucking bland. And then on top of it, they'll either put like egg salad or just butter and cheese, and just like they like raise you more bland things to put on it. And so I put raspberry jam on this shit, and that's like a crime to do. Like everybody I tell that I do that is like, you can't do that. And I'm like, fuck that, it tastes fucking good, dude. And so like, bro, I posted that one as an ultimate joke, and for like a week straight, everybody who saw me was like, dude, you can't do that to the Karelian pies. Like, you have to put on, you got to try this, you got to try that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like a super emotional thing for some people.
Mm.
So it's like, dude, just you never know what's going to stick with
Yeah.
somebody. Like, and both good and bad. It can go all over the realm, because I've also talked shit about like the teenage boys in the gym out here, like not really working hard and just being on their phone and shit. And I've had a dude like 6 months after a clip was like, bro, I really like your stuff, but the one the one thing you talked about teenage boys like not working hard, like, bro, I work hard. I work hard. Like he's literally like showing me pictures of him flexing in the mirror. I'm like, bro, I was like, dude, it was kind of a joke, and that was like 6 months ago. Like, bro, chill out, but it stuck with
Wow.
him. It had been bro, that shit had been eating at him for a while. Like he wanted
Wow.
to prove to me, some random motherfucker on the internet, that, dude, I work out hard and I get gains, bro. Like,
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, kind of as you're saying that, like, um, it really goes to back to, like, especially for me, it's like if it's nourishing me and it's if I'm enjoying it, then put it out there. Like,
yeah,
and then if it does resonate to somebody, like it sounds like to me, like when you're posting the TikToks about Finland, you're kind of bringing the community together a little bit. It's like it's making that matter more. It's making them connect to each other more. And I think that's what it's all meant to be, man. That when I really look at it, it's like when we get in our heads, it's like if we just connect more, if we find ways to connect to our experience right now, right here, it's like things just evolve naturally, like how they need to evolve. And it's like you could be making a funny ass joke about like a little adding some jam, and
Yeah.
people are like, whoa, we got to fight this dude, or like,
Yeah.
we got to
And then
talk to this guy.
some people are like, yo, I gotta try this. You like, I never thought, I never thought to put that on it. Like, I'm gonna try, it gets both sides. And like, I mean, I'm pretty I would say I'm like fairly calculated with TikTok in itself. Like Instagram, I just post what truly I like and what I want. And TikTok is definitely I probably cater to the algorithm a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um and now like I see like this secondary kind of game with it of like making some money off of it and stuff like that. And but then also being like very upfront, like, yeah, like I know this might piss somebody off and it's someone else is going to really agree with it. And so I already believe it myself, but I'm for sure going to make that a clip because I know
Mm,
that one's going to, and so um but then again it goes back to the idea of like, am I saying this because I know it'll do good, or am I saying
mm-hmm.
it because I really believe it? um but that kind of thing. But no, dude, it's it's an interesting like world to get into now that I feel, I still feel like what, a year and a half, 2 years in, like it's still just like dipping my toe. I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel any different or anything like than the last time we did a pod. And Will Ferris is your what, episode 13, I think, or 14,
On
or
your pod or mine?
11 on mine.
Oh, might have been earlier than that,
Yeah, you were
like
like,
7 or 8.
yeah, maybe even, yeah, single digits. Yeah, because you were right after Spencer. So that was like 7 or 8. Yeah. And it's like, bro, I don't feel any like different really from that. I've just put out a lot more shit. I just have a lot more shit of me talking on the internet, that's out there since then.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So when you're doing the pod and like you have something that you think is going to be a clip, are you like kind of in your mind like, oh, that might hit on TikTok? Or are you just like, nah, I gotta stay consistent through the pod? Like, you know what I'm saying in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, so my format now, what I do is, I'm recording once a week, about more or less. Like I was super strict for a while. Like I had to record either Monday or Tuesday and had to post Wednesday, or, something like that. And then eventually, like some days I'm not feeling it. And so I was like, on those ones, I either forced it and it didn't sound good. And then I ended up recording the next day too, because I didn't like it, or, I just wouldn't do it. So now my system is, throughout the week I keep a little notepad open on my computer, and just like little ideas that pop into my head
Mm,
that just I want to go back to. Like, let me see, what do I have on right now, like for, yeah, the next week. Like, and especially now that I'm like starting to sell like merch and shit, like I'm also now thinking marketing wise a little bit more and here and there. And so um like I this morning I woke up and like the first thing I checked was um like my orders for the website, and I had 3 new orders, and that has like now became my favorite thing to check. And that is like the most exciting thing to get, more so than a comment or any other thing that's ever happened online. And so that's like the first thing I'll talk about in next week's pod, because and then I can say thank you to the people who have supported, who bought something. And then I know myself like, okay, that also makes a good clip of like being appreciative. It's fucked up in a
mm,
way how like calculated this is, but it is what it's like the nature of the beast in a little bit of the way. And so then, because I think that partially the reason I got some of those sales was in my last Instagram video. I said, like, thanks to the people who have bought online already, and like shouted them out. And so like I'm just like slowly learning about the human psyche, in
Yeah.
this roundabout way. And so like I'll start with that. And then I told a funny story today to my girl about like my dad and like ordering drinks and stuff, and like it's a funny story. And then I was like, that I should tell that on the pod. And I have like a really good way to get into it also, of like taking a sip of and so like this is a funny thing to like admit, because then if someone then watches episode 82, I'll be kind of acting in a way, like, a couple of these things are like a little bit acting, or not, like scripted, I should say.
Yeah.
And then I'll, have a few other things, and then occasionally, like, I just go off onto a fucking tangent that I didn't even ever think I was going to go off on, and I'll just let that ride. And but normally, like, I have like two 1 to 3 things that relate to Finland that I've noticed throughout the week that's been weird, that I know will be a good TikTok clip. So like, to answer your question in a really roundabout way, like I know that I kind of know at least one thing that I'm doing, like, that I'll have kind of scripted out in the base plan of the pod that I'll do so that I can post it. Um, but no, I guess when I'm going, I don't sometimes I guess I've thought like, oh, that'll be a good clip for TikTok or for Instagram or whatever. But then I get in my own head, so I try not to think too much about that. It's more like when I listen back to it that second time, that,
Yeah.
put the markers down and do that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of dope that you have some type of script though, like some type, like it, I can almost tell though, because it's like the quality of the way you tell a story in some of your pods is like so high level that I'm like, that's almost what I was trying to say earlier, is like I'm trying to find the balance between like fine wine, like you have something
Right.
like really well done versus like the free flow. This is authentic, like this is honestly me in that moment. It sounds like you have like a little bit of a blend, even though you're consistently putting stuff out. It's like, I mean, people can tell that it's like, oh, this was like a very concise story. There wasn't a lot of blockages. Like, I think you do a great job with that. So that's dope to hear. Because I never knew that you had like some type of, I know you had like kind of a script of like, oh, here's what I'm going to talk about, but it's dope that you have more of that like kind of concrete in your mind.
Yeah, I've noticed it, especially with the guests, is, the first, like, I don't know, 10 guest ones I did. Like, I had it, like, I was really trying to control the conversation. I wasn't like
Mm,
podcasting, I was interviewing in a way. And
yeah.
and then I, like, when I listened back to the like second one I did with Nick Crossan, like, I fucked up and like missed some really great questions, and like could have hit on some
Mm,
stuff that like really would have been awesome to get more deep into, but I wanted to follow my script a little bit. And then
yeah.
I did one with the dude in Portugal, American guy Trevante Williams, who he's played Portugal out there and played basketball out there in like last 3 years, and I couldn't find anything on him on Google before meeting him. And we just connected on IG because he knew Anthony Ireland, and like I liked his vibe, like all his captions and stuff on IG. That's enough for me to want to talk to somebody. And I went into it with no notes basically, and that shit
Mm.
was probably after ours. That one competes with like my
Damn, I
favorite
need to
one.
listen to that.
Yeah,
I need to
that
listen to
one's
that.
dope. You'll dig that one big time. Like, he's a cool motherfucker. And like we just went off the top for, like how we did. But I mean, I had nothing going into it. Like at least with, I had a couple, I have a couple like generic questions that I'll get into, but I had no background. But then it made me ultimately curious. He had a crazy, he was from Alaska, like I had to ask all the right questions because I didn't have any prior knowledge. So
That's so interesting.
like that's been my balance now, even then doing it solo, is like, okay, if I script it too much, then it's not like letting me out. If I don't script enough, then it's just kind of,
Yeah.
it could be genius or it could just be a waste of fucking time, like who knows? And then finding that balance. And so like I haven't, this is fun to do a Zoom one again. I'm for sure gonna post this on mine, bro. I don't know if you're using this, but I'm for sure this is
Awesome.
like bonus episode.
Yeah, there you go. No one knows it's
But
coming. They're like, oh, what the
yeah,
hell? Who's this guy?
yeah, we'll just,
No, that's
yeah, bro.
awesome. I love what you said about just like curious, like being curious question. I think that's what I respect about you the most. Like when I listen to most of your questions, even if you felt like they were scripted in the first podcast, a lot of what I sensed was like, oh, this guy's genuinely curious about getting to know me.
Right.
He's genuinely curious about whatever is going on. I think that's far more powerful than like the best question ever written, but it's like, like a ESPN interview.
Totally.
How did it feel to score 20 points in front of the crowd?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Okay. Felt great. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, generic questions get generic responses in a way. Ooh, I
That's a
knew
deep
it, bro.
one.
Bro, before I said it, I was like, oh, Will is gonna fuck with this one.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, bro. That's a good. I'm gonna have to. I gotta. Oh, and then, bro. I sometimes also on that note, I was just gonna say I gotta tweet that so I remember it. Like if on my Twitter is basically just like this weird. If I'm out and about and I can't get to my little notepad, for ideas for the pod, I just tweet whatever that little idea is. And so, like sometimes going back and reading it, like they make no sense. Like the one that sticks in my mind is like one of my latest tweets is there's more skulls in the forest. And I was at the bar with a buddy, and like he's talking, he's there with his girlfriend, and he's kind of like like I don't know not goth, but like face tattoos and like more rocker kind of guy and stuff. And like he was explaining that one of their biggest fights or conflicts or something was because the dog like chewed up one of these skulls that he had found like in the forest, and so it made him like super pissed. And he was like, but at the end of the day, there's more skulls in the forest. And it was like super dark, like in one way, like super dark, like, yeah, there's more like there's more dead stuff in the forest. But then it was also like incredibly enlightening in a way of like, yeah, there's more fish in the sea, like there's always a new day, there's more. It was like the most dark way to say something enlightening, I felt. So that's how I get down with that.
That's awesome. That's a deep one though. Generic questions get generic responses.
Dude, that's the truth. That's the truth for sure. So you going to be down in San Diego for foreseeable future, or what's your game plan right now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm heading to the East Coast actually tomorrow. I'm doing like a workshop with a couple teams, and so that'll be interesting. But I've more so just been traveling a lot. I was back home for a little bit for my buddy's wedding. But for now, for the time being, San Diego is probably the spot. It really just depends on, I don't know, man. I visited my buddy in North Carolina. That was dope. Like the adventures we went on were insane. And so that was a lot of fun. It's like kind of wherever kind of my heart's guiding me, bro, I'm really kind of open to it, just like I was when I moved to San Diego in general. And it's brought me so much. Like I've learned so much. And so it is kind of, it's not to the same scale as you because you're going somewhere completely different, but it is nice to be able to travel and to be remote. Like all my work is remote.
Okay.
So yeah, I know I don't have to be stationed anywhere. So
And you can do all the
that's kind of
schoolwork
nice.
and stuff remotely as well?
Yep, it's all
Okay.
remote, the whole master's program. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse because I'm on my laptop a lot, like
Ah,
doing the coaching stuff. I've tried to balance it with, okay, well, if I'm out in nature and I'm sitting, and chilling, my feet are in the grass, and maybe I don't do a Zoom with them, but I'm like on the phone. Sometimes I give a way better coaching and like way more grounded and present. But if I'm on Zoom, like in this office, and I'm kind of like in a dead space, it's kind of like I'm hunched over, and the energy's different. So I'm kind of tinkering with a lot of that. You know what I mean? So it's like being remote is awesome. I can kind of do whatever I want. My schedule is all mine, but there's a lot of pressure to find ways to stay, on top of your game, or, feeling grounded. So that's really been my biggest. And I'm
dude.
learning though, like you said, bro, I'm just doing it. Like the fact that I'm already working with clients is like, I'm just doing it. I'm figuring it out. Like I'm learning
Yeah.
what I need to do to get myself in the right headspace, just like I was with basketball. Right. So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Man, what you just said though reminded me and encourages me to do something different in the same way that like you interrupting your podcast and like was something different, um where I was same kind of thing, like out in nature, vibing, like crazy train of thought going, and I'm like, damn, like whatever I'm thinking right now, if I could just get out, like this of all things is
Mm-hmm.
meaningful, like what I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
right now is meaningful. And I was like, but fuck, like, and this would be a dope spot to do the podcast, but I don't have my camera, I don't have this, I don't have that. And I was like, well, why don't you just like talk into your phone and just make it
Mm-hmm.
make it an audio one or something. And then I'm like, yeah, but that's not the that's not how I do it, and that's not the way it should be done,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote. And then I was like, fuck, it doesn't matter, like
Yeah.
it really doesn't. But then I haven't done that. But it's like hearing you say the thing about coaching, I'm like, okay, I just even I've had the idea of like just compiling, either doing it a daily kind of thing or a whenever it happens, and then compiling them all together for like a weekly one, like maybe it's a little 5-minute thought rift on whatever, and on Monday, and then on Wednesday it's a 7-minute on this, and either posting them right at the moment or then just like packaging them together for another like a weekly kind of thing also has been rolling around in my mind, but I just haven't done it yet. I gotta do it. I gotta do it, bro.
No, you're doing it, bro. But like you said, something like a deep thing you said in there was like, it's not how I should do it. It's not how it should be done. Like, I think that's just like for me, whenever I'm using that word, especially, I'm like, oh, that's judgment right there. I'm judging
Yeah.
myself.
You
It's like,
you talked about that in your one with the second episode, I think, right?
probably did. I mean, I can't even remember what I was putting
With
out because it's been a
I
while.
forget who it was, but I think that should thing, like I think I riffed off of that on my own pod, but that was strictly from your shit.
Yeah. No, it's like I've been more aware of like these key words for myself, like hearing the way I talk to myself has been the biggest change, right? Like if I'm telling myself I should be doing this, okay, well, did I commit to this? Is there like a blood oath
Mm,
for this? Am I better or worse if I don't do it? And that's kind of really been the path for me to be more intrinsically me, is like, okay, if I can get rid of some of those words, if I can let go of a lot of these things, I have way more of a chance to be myself. I have way more of a chance to do something that's naturally me, and that will upgrade everybody around me, whether I know it or not. Unconsciously, I think if I live my highest self, they're going to have permission to do the same thing. But if I'm stuck in my head, I should be this way, I should be that way, it's like, okay, well, if we're all unique, why should we be any other way than we are?
Dude, that's huge.
So that's been a big one for me. And like you said, with I'm out in the forest and I'm having these deep, meaningful thoughts, but it's not how I should be doing it. It's like, I don't know, man. You're the king of just like run it. Like, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm out
true.
there wherever I'm at. Like, let's try it out. And who knows? Maybe it is terrible. Maybe it is not the way you want, but at least it's not like this oath because you should be doing it in your room and you should be there. But yeah, I try and balance that out for myself a lot, man, a lot. And it's like, yeah, I think that's been my biggest challenge in life, is to just let go of a lot of the judgment of what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, what I'm think I should do. It's like, okay, well, you're good. You're good. You know what you need to do.
You're hitting it on the head. And I realize now how much, like, again, dude, you don't realize even probably yourself how much, but I don't even realize how much hearing that, because I know it was you. I can remember you guys talking about it now, but that shit like really resonated with me. And even in the idea from, I'm having a good season out here.
Mm-hmm.
I probably haven't like worked out, like training wise, hasn't been as like crazy strenuous, like I'll go once a week to the gym, twice a week to the, especially in season. There's been a game week or two where like I'm just doing mobility, I'm not doing, in my old beliefs, I'm not doing much.
Yes.
And getting over that judgment of, well, I should be, cleaning, squatting, doing this, and because that's, it's kind of college athletics drills it into your head a little bit. And I think it's overkill for most of the time, for some portion of it. But no, dude, I feel way more freer. Like I'm maybe a little less stronger.
Yeah,
but in my position, like that is not that relevant. And I think it could go for all across the board, because I don't know if being able to bench 10 extra pounds, if it comes with a like clouded mental thing, is really that important at any position. Like does that 0.1 or that 1 plus in your Madden rating, like does the +1 in strength, is it worth it if you're losing 5 in awareness?
Definitely not.
Like fuck
Definitely
no.
not.
Like,
yeah,
there's a certain point where like, yeah, you lose -10, yeah,
yes. That's a big difference.
but 1 to a -5, like, like if it's coming at that kind of ratio, where just by losing 1 or by gaining 1, I'm losing 5 of something else. Like, yeah, I don't want to lose 10 and get, I don't want to be fucking strength 30 with the awareness 99, because I'm just a glorified coach is all I am then.
Exactly.
Like, there's a balance to it, but
Yeah.
it's just something I've ran into with like training. And I know you've over the years like dealt with the overtraining issue. And so for me, just getting back to like, all right, but I would sometimes undertrain, but then fuck myself mentally because I thought I should do it this way. And so then, even
Exactly.
though maybe by not training so much, I didn't lose that much, mentally I lost more than the physical, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So this is something I've reframed, because I'm still playing pretty competitive basketball, but I'm
Yeah,
like, bro,
that was going to be my next structured question for you. but
Yeah,
keep going.
no, it's like, so I'm playing it and I'm like, dude, you're gonna do this completely different, right? Like you're not gonna do it the same way. And I'm through the program, it really helped me build the tools to do it in a different way. Because if not, you just react to that. If you really feel like, man, I need to go, I should be benching, I should be this, the judgment is gonna be so heavy that you're just gonna react to it and do it, right? But because I know now, I think for sure as a kid and when you're starting something new and you're in college, like sometimes we don't have the awareness of ourselves enough that we need somebody to be like, yep, you need to do this, and just maybe it's not the perfect plan, but it's a plan, right?
Yeah.
But where I think they do us a disservice is they don't allow us to be like, okay, if you're playing freer, you're going to play better. So they don't allow us to build this awareness of ourselves of like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of tired right now. Do I force myself to go to the weight room, or do I take a nap and visualize about the game? Like what's going to get me better to playing? Most of the time for me, it's like visualize, dude, your body's tired, take a break. And I think that's been the most empowering thing, which is like, okay, now I know when to kind of step back. Is it really worth training and going to compete against a bunch of guys if I'm going to lose my spiritual connection to it? Like if I'm going to lose the like in Chinese medicine, they call it the shen, like your enjoyment of it, like doing it because you enjoy it. Like if I'm going to go do this because I should train, but I'm going to have zero of that, like, is that really going to make me play better, or is that going to make me resent the game and want to play less?
Yeah.
And so I think it's dope you've had this awareness, because that's the biggest thing to get off of ourselves, because that's mainly comparison. Like who are we bench pressing against? It's comparison to and judgment to all the rules and structures that people have said that we need to do. And like I said, there is a balance, because it is like if you just start BSing yourself and you're like, yeah, I just need rest, and you never train, it's like, okay, this guy. But if it's dealt with in like a conscious plan, and you're like, yeah, this is like what I need really is just like once, twice mobility, and that's still going to get me to where I need to be. Now that's like true awareness of self. That's true mastery, in my opinion. Is like, what you need, you do it.
And you said the word of believe, and it's like more and more, bro, I'm figuring out, and we've talked about this from the jump of like The Secret and that kind of like law of attraction, that kind of stuff. And ultimately just whatever our true beliefs are, like true belief to the core, that shit's gonna come true. And so it's like, if you believe that you need to train 7 days a week in order to be the best version of yourself ever, you're right. But if you also then believe that, like, yeah, I can do mobility twice a week, and it's a true belief, it's not like you said, just kind of talking shit to yourself, but it's this true to your core fucking belief, then you're right. No matter if it's, I mean, bro, I'm, I've, I've like, I'm really testing this theory out. Let me put it this way. Like, you know, I feel like I'm just going to be good no matter what at this point, like playing wise and stuff. Like, I've put in so much fucking time. Obviously, I know I need to work, but in my mind, kind of, it's like, no matter how much work I put in or how much work I don't put in, like, I got this shit. Like, I got it. And so, like I said, bro, I've partied more this season than I've ever fucking partied. I'll fucking smoke some cigarettes occasionally. Like, and in the past, that would like, in my mind, it was like, oh, if I smoked one cigarette, then my lungs would be bad and I wouldn't be able to do something. And, like, cause and effect would like ultimately equal to worse play. And it's like, I'm noticing, and maybe it's just because it's 1 year and I'm not doing this for 5-6 years. I've been doing it really the right way. That's fucking weird, quote unquote, the right way for like 10-12 years now in a row. So maybe, this is just that human nature, like thinking comparison to ourselves kind of thing, that maybe it's okay for now, but I don't know, man, just ultimately like whatever you believe is going to be true for you. And it's man, I'm glad we're talking, because it's like I needed to remind myself that, it sounds like I'm telling you that, but I'm definitely telling myself
Well,
that, right?
well, it's also like you said, like I could do whatever I want and I'm still got it. Like I'm still going to be able to show up and have whatever skill that I need. That if you said that back in high school though, like
Exactly.
you would have been, it would have been like, bro, no, you don't. But because
And
you know yourself, it's like it's a different story. That's why I think it's constantly evolving. Like we are always evolving. But
and I wouldn't have believed that in high school. Like I
mm,
could have said that. I could have been, yeah, I'm good no matter what, but like we're all faking when we're,
mm,
17, 18 years old, like we don't know what we believe when we're that young,
yeah.
like that. I've noticed this. I've said it with I've noticed it. I've said it more so in like the dating realm, is I hate now dating like 24 to 27-year-old girls, because that to me seems like the age of a girl that like they know everything. Like you
Mm.
can't tell them anything. And like I just view myself when I was that age, like I felt like I had some shit figured out, you know. But when you're like 20, you don't know shit, but you're kind of faking that you do. And
Yeah.
then I've noticed now when I'm 30, it's again like I know I don't really know shit, but I'm not even faking it anymore. Like I'm
Yeah.
I'm just like I know what I know what I don't know. I'm not afraid to admit which is which. And so it's like that middle ground is like, no, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know, like, I'm confident on it. And man, going on a date with that girl is just impossible for me. Like that
Oh,
one
you're
is
hilarious.
dude, that one's I've my I've it's ironic that we started this with like the things I don't want to share are dating stuff, and and then I've said something like that, and then I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, of like lately I've either dated like 29 and above, or like 20 to 22. Like that's
Mm.
I've stayed out of that middle range, and now I'm going to shut up about dating.
And I think that's how we end the podcast. There we
And
go.
that's how. No, bro. Yeah, you got me on a riff right there for sure. But all right, back to basketball. Is there still an idea of what it was? Ireland for a bit? There was.
Yeah. Fuck, man. It was interesting because like during the pandemic, they really were against like rookie guards, like or just rookie players in general. Unless you were
Mm,
at like a big time school, obviously it's different. But like coming from a D2 now, they really are like, I'm not sure. We're gonna stick with a guy who's probably in his third year who may not be as good, but we know like what he'll give us, you
right.
know. And so I had a link to this like Turkey league that was like mutual friends within this like select program I was coaching, and his dad was the GM. And I was like, okay,
Okay.
well, shoot him my film. And he hits me back right away. He's like, oh, he really likes you. Like he thinks you could play in the top league. I'm like, okay, here we go. Like unreal. Like just got blessed, right? COVID hits, no chance. Then the Ireland thing was more of like, oh, I could do school and play. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, do I want to go back to school? But yeah, I do still want to play, but it'd be nice to travel. That kind of fell through. I think the league was pretty shitty. So it was like, probably wouldn't have fit for me anyways. Like I probably would have been too good for the league. Not, I
Okay.
mean, not like putting the league down, but it's not, it's more semi-professional. Like you see the guys running around, they're like, there's some chubby dudes out there. It's like, bro, like this guy is not a hooper, man. And
Yeah.
and so then I got hit up by the 3-on-3 stuff, and um the men's like Olympic qualifying team, they train in LA. Like most of their guys are in LA. And so my assistant coach in college trains one of the guys on that team. So he's like, hey, let's like make a squad to just practice against them, see if you like the game style. And it just fits my game so well. Like the spacing, like everything fit. And I was like playing well against these guys. I'm like, we could do this. And then they linked us up with the national tournament in Massachusetts, which again, I was like, dang, this is some of the highest level ball I've played, like just confidence wise, like playing wise. And then we hit up North Carolina. That's why I was able to travel and see my boy. But we hit up North Carolina and we played in this tournament. So basically it's like, now it's like a Red Bull Pro circuit where there's like different tournaments that pop up in different cities. And we went to North Carolina. There was 24 teams. First place gets you make about 1,000 each if you win.
Okay.
Second place is about 400 each. And we lose our first 2 games. And this is what's dope about 3-on-3 is like, it's so fast that anyone could win. Like you could play some bums and they just get lucky that it's to 21 and it's just such a fast pace. Like you could just be cold and don't play well. But we lose our first 2 games against like 2 teams that made the Final Four eventually. But we gathered as a team. There's no coaches. So we gather as a team. We're like, guys, let's really figure it out. What do we need to do? Like, how do we figure this out together? And we went on this big run. We make it to the championship and we lose to a bunch of like ACC, ex-ACC players who played at like North Carolina State or something. And there was, we should have won. Note the should, but we lost by 2 and the foul count was 8-0. And so there might have been some North Carolina homer reffing there, but
8-0. Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's like, bro, okay, you really don't want us to win at this point, but no, it was cool. It was like a good first
0,
experience.
bro. 0.
Yeah,
like,
and not 1 foul.
Yeah,
it's
like,
crazy.
Just to make it like, come on.
Exactly. So it's cool because it's like I get to test myself and it's like high level competition, but it's not as like, I mean, if we get really good, we could be traveling overseas. We could be playing a big time qualifying tournament, and those are like, you win, you make 15 G's. And it's like one weekend. And so I was like, yeah, this is fun. I feel like I'm good at it. And it's like, see where it goes. I'm not like, I gotta play. I gotta like, this is big. It's just more of like, I know what I can do. It's fun to compete and it's fun to travel and meet people. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
And a chance to make a little extra cash is like, okay, I guess you're technically professional, right? Like you're making money doing something you love to do. It's like, I mean, can't complain there,
Hell yeah. That sounds sick though, man. Who were the 2 other guys that were on your team? Or it's just 3 guys, or do you have a bench, or how does it work?
Yeah, it's 4 players per tournament.
Okay.
So the last tournament we went to, actually one of the guys came on my podcast before, Jordan Hamilton. He played at Lehigh. He's like 6'5" wing. And then we got a guy who played at Santa Clara and Wake Forest, who's just a monster, 6'8", like pretty much like a Carmelo Anthony. He's going overseas though, to Australia. And then then my buddy Cole is the son of my assistant coach, and he's kind of got us all cooking together. So yeah, man, it's been fun. It's been fun to like go on that journey. It's a way different style, but I think it's going to be up and coming because it was in the Olympics. Yeah. So like a lot of people are like, oh, okay, like this is a cool
then there's
style.
even the Ice Cube League too, right?
Yeah, that's a little bit different. That's like a different style, but I think 3-on-3 is definitely becoming bigger.
Yeah, just the awareness of 3-on-3 ball.
Yeah, it's kind of like beach volleyball, It's like it started off like kind of like, okay, well, what is this? But now people play it all the time. So
do you guys have a coach?
Yeah, no coach.
Okay.
So that's the cool thing about 3-on-3.
How do you decide who's on the bench?
Right, exactly. So it's like there's a lot. I think, I had to take the voice there. I was like, boys, the only thing that'll fuck us up for this tournament is one of us gets like salty that we got subbed out or we didn't start. Like from the get-go, can we just like squash this? And so it's tough, man. Like in the last tournament, I had to read the court. Like, this guy's cooking. Why would I sub him out? Of course I want to play, but like their flow is great. Let me just sit out a little bit longer. And then the next game, the other guy did it for me. And so it's really cool, man. Like talking about the empowerment factor is like with no coach, you kind of coach yourselves. You see like, fuck, we need some juice or we need some energy. And so it's like been a nice like encompassing thing of everything I'm learning is like, okay, we gotta we gotta figure this out together, right? Like we gotta figure out what we need, and we don't have this coach barking at us, which is great. Like we don't want that anymore. You know, we don't want somebody telling us what to fucking do. So yeah, man, it's been interesting.
So you
But
kind of did you feel, or sorry, go on.
no, I was just gonna say I probably got like 5 more minutes. I didn't want to interrupt the flow if that's
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. No worries, bro. I was just gonna say, did you felt then kind of like if you said that from the jump, then you kind of took a leadershipy role from the jump, or was it mutual, or like how'd you view that?
yeah, you know, another big thing I've learned over this last year is like conflict is tough for me, but it's also like I think it's the ultimate act of forgiveness in some ways. Like if you're doing something that I don't like and I just hold it to myself, it's like, well, that person doesn't even get a chance to reconcile.
Mm,
So I think it was just more of like, all right, this is something I've been thinking about. I know it's the elephant in the room. Let me just say something. And, you know, if I have to like take some of the sacrifice of it, so be it. Like my pride isn't in the game. So it's like, all right, if you need this, if you need to start and you need to play more, it's like, great, do it. As long as we're
yeah.
winning, you know? So I think naturally I always like try and take like a slight leadership role just of communication, not like necessarily like I tell you what to do, but more of like, hey boys, we all know we're thinking this. Like let's just talk it out, figure it out. And it's cool, man. You know, you get some players who like really start to value that communication. And that's, you know, a huge people skill, right? Like it's a huge skill in general. So
And yeah, being able to communicate and like convey ideas in highly emotional situations, and then being able to come back and like be friends, or be teammates, what work relation, however it may be, is, dude, I've ran into that out here a little bit because I'm just playing out here. I'm not the coach,
oh,
and I've
okay.
been QBOC everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
so luckily, me and the coach see things very similarly for the most part. And it's been nice because it's given me a ton of time to do all TikTok and all that
I
other
bet.
stuff,
I bet.
so like without it took me a while, like the first like 2 or 3 months here when I'm not leading the practices. And I think maybe we should be doing something a little different, or we should be thinking about this and rather than that. Like it took me a while to like get over that habit. That was just
Mm-hmm.
the way I have been functioning. And then that, honestly, bro, that's how like the TikTok thing came. I was like, fuck, dude, I don't I don't have to game plan for an hour a day anymore. Let's use this time
Mm.
wisely. And whether I was like doing some Duolingo or whether I was doing whatever, and like and then TikTok blew up. But no, there's our last game, or maybe not 2 games ago, or I don't know when. We had I threw an interception that got tipped on a screen, and like I saw it was a little bit high, but went off right off the dude's both hands, and so we get to the sideline, and dude's like, "Oh, sorry, man, like I could only get a hand on it." And a little bit backtracking is this dude uses excuses a lot, like a notorious excuse maker. And I just finally, like, in that moment, I was, he said, I could only get a hand on it. And I'd noticed this for a long time. And I was like, bro, I saw it hit both hands, like it's okay. I wasn't going to come at you at all, like it is what it is, but I saw it hit both hands. he was like, no. I was like, dude, there doesn't need to be an excuse for everything, like, but said it in like a pretty, like, we're in the middle of the battle, so it's like a little bit more intense than how I'm saying it to you now. And we ended up, like, there's like a little, not anything crazy, but like a little back and forth on the sideline. But then at some point, like, we complete a 60-yard pass or something to each other, like, later in the game. And, he comes, hey, thanks for sticking with me and stuff like that. And it's like those, like, communications or conflicts in that situation, they can go both ways, but like at the end of it, because we both kind of, I said, you don't need to make an excuse for everything, and he told me that I don't need to get mad at everything, because I play with a little bit of fire, and but in that situation I wasn't even mad. So I was like, like I said, we went back and forth for a second, but after that, like, that relationship is strengthened, like, and so, no, those little things like that can, and sports are fucking dope, because when are you going to do that in real life? Like, there's not a lot of opportunities. Maybe I don't know how business worlds work at all. I'm no expert, but maybe you got to have some tough conversations if someone's not getting enough sales, or, not pulling their weight with that kind of thing. But if you're just doing a normal life kind of job, like, you're never going to have that little conflict is uncomfortable, but shit, it's growth.
Yeah. That's a deep one to end on, man. Looks like it's starting to get dark there.
Yeah, it is a little bit, bro. I know. I think that is probably a good place to end on, because it's what, 10:30 right now, and it's just super cloudy now.
Yeah.
But
it was great to connect, bro.
Dude, it's super good to connect as always. We might have to do a random, I mean, we talked about this back from day one, like a monthly or something, because
I think that'd be awesome, bro. I think a monthly would be dope. And obviously, like, we didn't have a plan with this one, so you're more than welcome to use it if it's good. I don't even know if it was good, but, like, maybe we can have a little bit more structure for the next one. But this was awesome, man. I appreciate you
for sure
spending the time.
Always, bro. Likewise. Yeah, next time, dude, check out, if you haven't, the Joe Rogan podcast with the girl from North Korea, Yuen Park or something. I forget what her last name's Park. Bro, watch that one, and that can be a structure, something we talk about for next time.
Okay, cool.
Because, like, fucking crazy. Like, it's probably my favorite pod I've heard.
Okay, awesome.
I almost don't believe her. Like, the stories of escaping North Korea, but
wow,
it'll lead into some good stuff. Like, I'd be real curious to hear some of your thoughts with just what's going on in the world around us today. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be an awesome one, because, like, I think that's what I respect most about your pod is, like, you talk about some shit from a very objective standpoint. Like, you try to, at least it seems like.
For sure.
It'd be dope to get on that with you. I don't know how, I'll listen to that for sure, but I don't know how well versed I am in a lot of that stuff. So it'd be a great learning experience for me too. So
yeah, no, I mean, just hearing, I mean, because, dude, you got a different perspective of being in the States with, bro, the COVID shit happening and all, like, you have a totally different, I have a good perspective on it now that we're 2 years into it. You've been traveling around the US quite a bit. Like, we'll have some good,
that'd be awesome.
And, like, the North Korea thing, like, there's, if we both know what we're talking about from that podcast, there'll be some really cool connectors we can make, I think.
Cool. Well, awesome, bro. I hope you, I guess you're not going to bed right now, but I hope you have a great night.
Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, actually, I'm trying to go to bed earlier. Last night I went to bed early at like 1.
Oh, shit.
Oh, oh, oh.
You reverse it.
Tell me, baby,
Yeah.
what's that story?
Yeah.
Cause I've been thinking about you lately.
Yeah, come on.
Tell me, darling,
What else?
you're a star girl. How the fuck do you not know the deal? I've been thinking about you lately, and
What
it's
else?
got me going crazy.
What else?
I'm playing for you, baby.
What
Listen up, listen up. Got me thinking about you, baby. And it's happening all the time. So I'm playing for you, darling. Now listen up, listen up.
Listen up.